Reality is not something fixed, but a dynamic flow of interactions and relationships.
What we observe is not the essence of things, but rather the representations we create.
Intuition arises like a whisper of the wind on a calm morning, soft, yet unmistakable.
True wisdom lies in finding a balance between what we can control and what life gives us.
Hello, I'm Ruby and Oliver, and today I have the honor of welcoming two of the greatest spiritual masters of all time, Alan Watts and Lao-Tzu. Their presence here is a true gift for all of us seeking transformation and self-knowledge. The theme of our video today is Never Be the Same, 10 Ancient Master Lessons, where we will explore transformative teachings that can completely change the way you see life and yourself. You will discover how to stop the internal dialogue that limits us and access a deeper wisdom that exists within you. We will dive into topics such as the true nature of reality, the power of inner silence, and how to fully live in the present moment. During our conversation, you will learn about the difference between the voice of the mind and the voice of intuition, how to develop a truly judgment-free listening, and better understand the relationship between your ego and your deeper essence. So let's begin our journey with a deep and intriguing question. Alan, if things and events are merely mental constructs, what is the true nature of the reality we perceive?
Rubian, I will explain this in a way that makes sense. The true nature of reality goes far beyond what we consider things and events. Imagine you are in a dark room, surrounded by shadows. As you turn on a light, the shadows dissipate, and forms become visible. What were once just indistinct outlines now reveal themselves as objects with specific characteristics. In this sense, things and events arise as reflections of the mind in its process of making sense of what surrounds it. Reality is not something fixed or static, but a dynamic flow of interactions and relationships. Just like clouds that change shape and color, reality shifts with the light we cast upon it, our consciousness. When we accept this, we experience a creative freedom, an openness to explore life beyond the limitations of the mind. Thus, the true nature of reality can be understood as an infinite interconnection, where everything is in process, and where life itself reveals itself as an act of continuous creation.
What a fascinating perspective, Alan. That analogy of the dark room really makes us think. And you, Lao-Tzu, how do you see this question of the true nature of reality beyond our mental constructs?
Look, Rubian, from the perspective of Taoism, what we observe is not the essence of things, but rather the representations we create from our experience and perception. Reality is a flow, an interconnection that involves being and non-being, the duality that coexists in harmony. Imagine a tranquil lake where the reflection of mountains and trees shows on its surface. The lake is the essence, while the reflections are our perceptions, mutable, subject to distortions as the wind blows and waves form. The true nature is like this lake, deep, subtle, and often unnoticed in its fullness. To understand this reality, we need to detach ourselves from limited definitions and conventional logic, recognizing the ineffable, that which cannot be fully expressed in words. In accepting the impermanence and the underlying unity of all things, we find a space to live with greater authenticity and harmony, aligning ourselves with the flow of life that permeates us.
Extraordinary how both perspectives lead us to a deeper understanding. While Alan enlightens us with the metaphor of the dark room, Lao-Tzu immerses us in the wisdom of the tranquil lake. Two perspectives that show us how reality is much richer and deeper than our mental concepts can capture. Before we continue, let me give you an incredible tip. Did you know that it's very easy to get ahead of 99% of people, succeeding in everything you desire for your life? I will leave a link in the first comment below to a book that changed my view on various aspects of my mind, and that has been helping thousands of people find clarity and confidence to achieve their goals and dreams. Don't miss it. I'm sure you'll love it. Now let's explore a question that deeply touches our quest for balance. Alan, is inner silence the key to true freedom, or is it an escape from the responsibility of engaging with the world?
Rubian, that is a fascinating reflection. You know, when you are observing a turbulent river full of debris, it's impossible to see the beauty of the bottom, isn't it? Our agitated mind works exactly like that, obscuring the clarity and wisdom that naturally exist within us. Inner silence is like allowing all that agitation to calm down, revealing our true essence. Some people may interpret this silence as a form of escape, but it is quite the opposite. It's like sharpening a tool before using it. The sharper it is, the more efficient its work will be. Silence prepares us for a more conscious and meaningful action in the world. The secret lies in finding the balance. It's not about choosing between isolation or engagement, but rather harmonizing both. When we integrate silence with action, we discover a freedom that is not merely the absence of noise, but a full and conscious presence, capable of facing reality with clarity and compassion.
What an enlightening perspective. And you, Lao-Tzu, how do you see this relationship between inner silence and our engagement with the world?
Rubian, inner silence is like a door that opens to true freedom. Amidst the hustle and bustle of daily life, the internal and external voices can become a tangle that distances us from our essence. When we access this stillness, we find the clarity needed to distinguish what truly matters from the distractions of life. It is in this state of serenity that our actions become more authentic and aligned with the nature of the Tao, generating a positive impact without the weight of imposition. Engaging with the world does not mean being a hostage to its demands and turmoil. Silence strengthens us and allows us to act in a more conscious and balanced way. It is through it that we find true responsibility, the ability to respond to life with wisdom and compassion.
It's impressive how both perspectives show us that silence is not an escape, but a gateway to more conscious action in the world. It makes me realize that we need both stillness and movement to dance with life fully. And for you who are noticing the quality of this conversation and the depth and importance of what we are discussing here, please help us by leaving a like and also comment on what you would like to see here on our channel. I sincerely thank you for your help. Now let's explore a deep question about the essence of the present moment. Alan, meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always in the immediate moment. How can we fully live in the present without ignoring the past and the future?
Rubian, observe how life is a continuous flow. Living in the present does not mean abandoning our history or ceasing to dream. It's more like navigating a drifting boat on the river of life. The past is the waters we have already sailed, shaping the bed we travel on, while the future is the unexplored current. The power lies in removing the moorings and being aware of each stroke in the now. It's like appreciating a flower. You observe it, smell its aroma, but you also recognize the soil where it grew and the rains that nourished it. This understanding allows us to carry the lessons of the past while keeping our focus on the beauty of the present moment. Meditation teaches us that each moment is a door to a deeper recognition of our journey. And when we look to the future, we can use it as a guide, not as a source of anxiety. Each conscious choice we make today is a seed for tomorrow's harvest. In the sacred space of now, we can feel gratitude for what has been lived, hope for what is to come, and, above all, the joy of simply being. It's a delicate balance, where each conscious breath connects us with the natural flow of life.
What a beautiful perspective on the flow of time, Lao-Tzu. And you? How do you see this art of living in the present without losing connection with the past and the future?
Rubian, it is essential to understand that all experiences are intimately interconnected. The past offers us the wisdom that has shaped us, while the future gives us motivation to act. The practice of meditation is like the work of a dedicated gardener. He needs to understand the conditions that made his plants grow, but his focus is on the leaves that are sprouting now. This attention to the present is what allows for a truly flourishing garden. When we bring all these elements, past, present, and future, into the current moment, we transform each instant into a sacred space of learning and intentionality. It's like weaving a tapestry where each thread has its purpose and beauty, contributing to a larger and more meaningful pattern.
Wonderful how both perspectives show us that the present is a point of integration, a portal where past and future meet in perfect harmony. Let's explore an interesting question about the nature of meditation. Master 1, meditation is meant to be fun. Does this statement trivialize a deep practice or reveal an essential truth about human nature?
Rubian, this is a fascinating perspective that deserves our attention. Think of a child exploring a garden for the first time. They don't follow rigid rules or complex methodologies. They simply immerse themselves in discovery with natural curiosity and joy. Meditation, when approached with this spirit of lightness and exploration, can become a much richer and transformative journey. It's like looking at a leafy tree through the eyes of a child. Every leaf, every movement of the wind becomes a source of wonder and discovery. When we remove the weight of excessive seriousness, we create a safe and welcoming space to explore our thoughts and emotions. Fun does not diminish the depth of the practice. On the contrary, it opens doors to a more authentic connection with ourselves. So, it's not about trivializing meditation, but recognizing that joy and lightness can be powerful catalysts for genuine transformation. It's an invitation to reimagine our relationship with the practice, making it more accessible and natural.
What a refreshing view on meditation, Master 1. Master 2, I would love to hear your perspective on this relationship between fun and depth in the meditative practice.
You know, Rubian, when we are in tune with our essential nature, lightness arises naturally. It's like being in a serene grove. The song of the birds and the whisper of the leaves do not diminish the depth of the experience. They enrich it. Meditation is a return to the simplicity of the human experience. When we allow ourselves to flow with this naturalness, we discover that depth does not need to be a burden. It's like a dance between consciousness and the ineffable, where each movement brings us closer to our true essence. This more playful approach reveals a fundamental truth. Our journey of self-discovery can be a liberating and pleasurable experience. It's an invitation to approach the Tao with a light heart, where depth manifests through the joy of being.
What a beautiful meeting of wisdoms. I see that both seriousness and lightness have their place in the meditative practice, and perhaps the true path is to find that natural balance between the two. A fascinating question now arises, Master 1. How can we differentiate between the voice of the mind and the voice of intuition or inner wisdom? It's a distinction that many of us struggle to make in our daily lives.
Rubian, this distinction is truly fascinating. The mind, with its constant chatter, is like a radio that never stops broadcasting, always on, always analyzing, always trying to predict and control. It functions like an anxious GPS, recalculating routes all the time, based on old maps and future fears. Intuition, on the other hand, has a completely different quality. It arises like a whisper of the wind on a calm morning, soft, yet unmistakable. It doesn't need to shout to be heard, nor does it strive to prove its point. It's like that moment of clarity you have upon waking, before all the thoughts of the day start to accumulate. A practical way to make this distinction is to observe the feeling that accompanies each voice. If you feel anxiety, urgency, or agitation, it's likely the mind speaking. Intuition brings with it a sense of peace, a serene certainty, even if its message challenges conventional logic. Inner wisdom is like a natural compass. It simply points the way, without drama or hesitation. When we manage to quiet the mental noise, this guidance becomes clearer and more reliable.
What an enlightening analogy about this distinction. And you, Master 2, how can we recognize this voice of inner wisdom amidst the mental noise?
Look, Rubian, this discernment is a subtle art. When we are connected with our inner wisdom, it's like diving into the depths of an ocean. On the surface, there may be turbulence, but in the depths, we find absolute calm. This intuitive knowledge needs no external validation, it simply is. It arises naturally, like morning dew, without effort or tension. While the mind constantly seeks approval and certainties, intuition flows with the simplicity of wu-wei or non-action. A valuable practice is to cultivate moments of inner silence. In the stillness of meditation, we begin to distinguish between mental chatter and the clarity of intuition. It's like cleaning a dusty mirror. The cleaner it gets, the clearer the reflection of our true nature becomes.
It's impressive how both perspectives illuminate this subtle theme. While Master 1 brings us the metaphor of GPS versus the natural compass, Master 2 invites us to dive into the depths of consciousness. Two views that help us navigate better through our inner voices. A very relevant question for our hectic times. Master 1, Is listening without judgment a skill that can be learned? Or is it an unattainable utopia in a world full of stimuli and opinions?
Rubian, this is a fascinating and extremely relevant question in today's world. The art of listening without judgment may seem like a utopia, especially when we are surrounded by so many voices and opinions clamoring for attention. However, just like learning to ride a bike, it's a skill that can be cultivated with practice and patience. Let's imagine a river flowing gently. When you sit by this river and simply observe it, without trying to interfere or change its course, you are practicing listening without judgment. The water continues to flow, and you simply let it be. This image shows us that open listening requires an attitude of acceptance and presence. The practice of listening without judgment invites us to adopt a curious gaze, like a child discovering the world. When we allow ourselves to truly hear what the other has to say, without automatically forming opinions or criticisms, we open the door to deeper and more genuine connections. It's an exercise in empathy, where, even if we don't agree, we can recognize the other's experience as valid.
A very interesting perspective, Master 1. And you, Master 2. How do you see this possibility of developing truly judgment-free listening?
Rubian, the art of listening without judgment is a practice that, although challenging, can be cultivated over time. Imagine a serene lake reflecting the clouds and sunlight. When we look at it, we don't disturb it with stones or waves. This image reflects the state of an open and receptive mind. The practice of contemplation and silence is fundamental. By reducing internal noise, we begin to listen not just to the words, but to the essence of what is being said. It's like learning to dance to a complex piece of music. With time and practice, we develop the ability to follow the melody instead of being swept away by discordant rhythms. The Tao teaches us to observe without the need to label or interpret immediately. Understanding without rushing to make a judgment is a way to align with the natural flow of life, where true understanding is revealed.
What a beautiful intertwining of wisdoms. I see that true listening is an art that requires practice, patience, and, above all, a genuine willingness to be present with the other. We've arrived at a truly provocative question. Master 1, you are the creator of your world. Is this statement empowering or a denial of the influence of external circumstances in our lives?
Rubian, this is a question that deserves careful analysis. Imagine yourself as an artist before a blank canvas. The colors and shadows you choose to brush define the final work, but you are still subject to the limitations of the available paints and the conditions of the environment. This phrase carries a profound wisdom that can be understood on various levels. On one hand, it is enormously empowering, as it reminds us that despite the challenges we encounter, we have an active role in creating our reality. It calls us to take responsibility for our choices, attitudes, and reactions. However, it is crucial not to fall into the trap of thinking we are isolated from the world around us. External circumstances, such as the social, economic, and cultural environment, have a considerable impact on our lives. It's a dance between our ability to create and the conditions that surround us.
What a balanced perspective, Master 1. And you, Master 2, how do you see this relationship between our creative power and external influences?
Look, Rubian, this question invites us to a deeper understanding of our relationship with the universe. It's like nature. Even a strong and robust tree does not grow without the influence of soil, water, and sunlight. It faces storms and droughts, but it is its resilience, its ability to adapt, that makes it unique. Being the creator of one's own world is an invitation to self-reflection and conscious action, while also recognizing that we are part of a larger whole. True wisdom lies in finding a balance between what we can control and what is given to us by life. By embracing this duality, we can cultivate a space of authenticity and growth, respecting both our individual power and the influences of the universe around us. Liberation happens when we accept this interconnectedness, allowing us to flourish in harmony with the Tao.
It's fascinating how both perspectives show us that we are both creators and creatures, dancing in harmony with the forces of life. It makes me realize that our true strength lies in recognizing and working with this duality, not against it. We have reached a question that deeply touches our understanding of existence. Alan, is death the end of consciousness or just a transition to a new form of existence? How can we understand this mystery that we will all face one day?
Rubian, this is a profound reflection that invites us to expand our understanding beyond what is visible. Death, far from being an absolute end, can be seen as a transformation, a passage to something new and unknown. Think of life as a dry leaf that detaches from the tree. This moment does not represent an end, but is part of a larger cycle of nature, where new forms of life prepare to emerge. Alan Watts often reminded us that consciousness is not something isolated, but a continuous flow that is constantly transforming. When night falls and the light of day fades, it does not mean that the light has ceased to exist. It merely manifests in a different way that our eyes cannot immediately perceive. In the same way, death may be a change of state, a passage to another dimension where consciousness continues to express itself in ways that are beyond our current understanding. Perhaps, instead of fearing this moment of transition, we can embrace the uncertainty and transformation it brings, recognizing that it is part of something much greater than our limited perception can reach.
What a profound perspective on this universal mystery. And you, Lao-Tzu, how does the wisdom of Tao help us understand this question of death and consciousness?
Rubian, death, viewed through the lenses of Taoism, reveals itself as a natural transition within the continuous flow of existence. It is like the movement of yin and yang, where each aspect of life is intrinsically connected to the other. Imagine water in its natural cycle. When it evaporates, it does not cease to exist, it merely takes on a new form. Consciousness, similarly, can undergo transformations that our limited mind still cannot fully comprehend. It is a return to primordial unity, like a river finally finding the ocean. When we accept this view and recognize the natural flow of life, we can live with greater serenity, understanding that we are always on a path of spiritual evolution, where death is just another stage of this infinite journey.
What a beautiful convergence of wisdom. It is comforting to realize that both the analogy of the falling leaf and that of the water cycle show us that death can be much more a portal of transformation than a definitive end. A deep question now arises. Alan, is the ego an obstacle to enlightenment or a necessary component for individuality and self-awareness? How can we understand this apparent paradox?
Rubian, imagine the ego as a character in a grand theatrical play. It has its important role, helping to build the narrative of our lives, but it can also become a villain if we allow it to dominate the entire plot. The ego is necessary for our individuality and self-awareness, functioning as a map that guides us in exploring life. Without this sense of I, it would be difficult to navigate human interactions and relationships. However, when the ego becomes excessive, like an actor wanting to steal the scene, it can definitely become an obstacle to enlightenment. It leads us to believe that we are separate from others, that we are better or worse, creating barriers to true connection. Therefore, the secret lies in learning to balance this ambivalent companion. We do not need to annihilate it, but rather integrate it, using its strength while recognizing that, in the end, we are all part of the same universal flow.
What an interesting metaphor of the theater, Alan. And you, Lao-Tzu, how does Taoism view this duality of the ego in our spiritual journey?
Look, Rubian, the ego is like a paradox in our spiritual journey. It is essential for forming our individuality, helping us navigate the complexities of life and affirm our identity. However, when we overly identify with it, we create an invisible prison. The ego tends to feed separation, making us see the world in terms of I versus others. In this state, emotions like pride, fear, and desire can obscure our true essence. In the trajectory of Taoism, we learn to recognize the ego and understand its role, but also to transcend its limitations. It is not about eliminating it completely, but integrating it in a way that it serves as a guide and not as a prison. It is through this balanced approach that we can perceive the interconnection between all beings and open ourselves to the experience of the Tao.
Fascinating how both views show us that the ego is a tool that needs to be understood and integrated. not an enemy to be destroyed. It's as if we need to learn to dance with it, without letting it lead the entire dance. We have reached a vital question for our times. Alan, how can we reconcile inner harmony with the conflicts and challenges of the outer world?
Rubian, this question is fundamental to our journey. Inner harmony is like a tranquil lake, reflecting the clear sky above. When the outer world brings storms, it is easy to be swept away by the waves. The key is to find that inner space where peace resides. Imagine an artist who, even surrounded by chaos, is able to create a masterpiece. He does not deny the challenges, but incorporates them into his art, transforming pain into beauty. These conflicts are inevitable, but how we face them is what determines our response. Practicing acceptance is a crucial step. It is like a dancer who learns to move gracefully even on an unstable stage. He does not fight against the ground, but learns to flow with it. Meditation and reflection are powerful allies in this process, helping us silence the mind and listen to our inner voice, even amidst the tumult. Thus, reconciling inner harmony with external challenges is an invitation to transformation. When we take on the role of co-creators of our lives, we change not only our reality but also the way we see the world.
What a beautiful analogy of the dancer, Alan. And you, Lao-Tzu, how can we maintain this inner harmony amidst external challenges?
Look, Rubian, to reconcile inner harmony with the challenges of the outer world, it is essential to understand that true peace begins within us. When we turn inward, we reduce the noise of thought and connect with our essence. This makes us more resilient to external difficulties. The philosophy of Wu Wei teaches us that often the best response to a conflict is not immediate reaction, but the ability to act gently and in accordance with the natural flow of things. It is like a leaf that gently navigates through the wind, adapting without losing its essence. Recognizing that life is made of dualities helps us better embrace challenges without being consumed by them. Instead of fighting against conflicts, we can accept them as part of our human experience, finding harmony even amidst chaos.
Extraordinary how both perspectives show us that true harmony is not about avoiding conflicts, but about developing a wiser relationship with them. It is a powerful reminder that we can be the calm center amidst the storm. Wow, what an incredible conversation we had today. Before we wrap up, I want to immensely thank Alan Watts and Lao-Tzu for sharing so many profound and transformative teachings with us. The reflections we had today on the nature of reality, inner silence, meditation, and so many other topics have certainly touched deeply on everyone watching us. Every word shared here is an invitation to a more conscious and fulfilling life. It would be amazing to have you both again on our podcast to continue these enriching reflections. Your complementary perspectives help us see life in a much deeper and more meaningful way. And you who are watching, take the opportunity to check out the other 2 videos that appear on your screen now. Just click on the images to continue this journey of self-knowledge and transformation. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We always bring relevant topics like this that can profoundly transform your way of seeing life and yourself. Thank you for watching until now, and I wish you to be free from everything that takes away your peace.